Good evening, Anthony. Good evening, Graham.
Hello, Charles.
Hello, indeed, and welcome on it's a Sunday evening, and it's been a day of 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. How often does that happen
You're
in
obsessed
football?
with the Premier League football, Charles. I can't believe it.
I'm just quoting you the fact it's been to one, to one, to one, to one, to
Okay,
me, to me,
okay.
to me, to you.
Too much, too much, too much, too much.
So, Graham, moving on. I merely just noted the rhythm of the world today, which is rather different to how the rhythm of the world is elsewhere at the moment, obviously.
Well, let's not mention Iran.
Where did you run to?
Where did I run to?
You just
No,
said you
Iran.
just said
I
you
did
ran. You said
Iran.
don't mention that
I
you
did.
ran.
No, I didn't do any running whatsoever, except running away from the Middle East.
Absolutely. So we're going to focus just briefly and initially on all things Brit. Two ceremonies have taken place. BAFTAs obviously was last weekend, followed by the Brit Awards, which are Saturday night in their new home after 49. I can't believe it's 49 years of Brits, but that's what I read. It's gone to
It only
Manchester.
feels like 200.
It feels like 200. Oh, anyway, so Manchester gets everything these days. We're used to this. It's also going to get the Mobos. I get rather bored of Manchester getting everything. There are other northern cities, by the way, in case you're wondering.
Well, yeah, I mean, Manchester is a great place, has a great music legacy, but its music legacy isn't that deep, really. I mean, the Hollies in the 1960s.
Mm-hmm.
And then along came Joy Division in the
10cc.
late
You've
70s
left
and the
out
Buzzcocks.
10cc, Graham. Left out
Well,
10cc.
yeah, 10cc, I suppose. Yeah, you're right. Okay, let's revise that opinion.
I'm being flippant. I just find it's endlessly that Manchester gets things rather than
It's almost
Sheffield
like Leeds doesn't
or, or,
exist.
or Leeds. It's just these other cities who I really do think it's actually important to start having a bit of a
Yeah,
comeback over this. I'm getting bored of it. And fine, we get
it's
the
almost
message about
like
Manchester.
Manchester's the London of the North.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be because it isn't.
Mm,
I'm
mm.
obviously speaking as a Yorkshireman, but I really think it's overrated from that point of view. Can we just spread it out a bit more? Great, take it away from London. I mean, that said, Newcastle is, of course, having for the second time running. I think it's having an award ceremony, isn't it? You're going to tell me which award ceremony it is, but it is having
Probably
an
a
award
Mercury
ceremony.
Prize again, I would guess.
Yes, it is indeed.
But
Which, of
anyway,
course, means that.
Charles, if you'd made that speech last night at the Brit Awards, you might
Mhm.
have gotten a bit of trouble.
Well, possibly, but I think it should be said.
Anyway, we should
I
mention the music briefly, although the Brits has
oh,
never
sorry.
really
Was
been
there
about
some? Was there
music.
some? Was there some music other than me being pro Yorkshire and fed up with Lancashire? But anyway, go on there, Graham. There was some music, and
Well,
I
yeah,
just
well,
actually caught a couple of
yeah, it's
performances.
slagging off the Brit Awards is just like something you always do, and I always do because you occasionally get some great music, but in general, it's just a reward for the musicians that the industry thinks have sold the most records or flown the flag for Britain most, with a token bit of indie music chucked in occasionally. So Olivia Dean won loads of prizes,
Four
and she's gone
prizes.
from she's
Mm.
gone from Brit School to Brit Awards, all very nice and neat. And
As has
you know,
as
I'm
has
I'm glad.
Lola Young, of course, done the
Yeah,
same
I'm
thing.
glad these British pop stars are internationally successful, but she's of no artistic interest whatsoever. You know,
Well,
it's a
Graham,
bit
they
like if
even
if
they even renamed the railway station Olivia Deansgate for the week. So there we are.
yeah,
That's
but you know, if the Brits had been around in the mid 70s, would Shawaddy have won the main awards?
Hey Rock and Roll, a classic.
Mm. Actually, probably too good to win an award.
We say this every year that Graham, Flavour of the Month wins the awards, and it's Olivia Dean's
Mm-mm.
turn.
Well, yeah, I thought at least Jack Whitehall was a funny host of the Brit Awards, and I thought he was actually better than most of the music acts, and he had some great
Mm.
lines. He
So
said at
I've
one point he
seen
said that
I've seen
one point he said that there might be some swearing tonight, but don't worry, we've got the best in the business on the bleeper
yes.
button. It's the guy who did the BAFTAs last week.
I
It's
did
a
think,
good line.
ironically, that if John Davidson had stayed there, last week Jessie Buckley went on far too long with her speech. It became very boring, and it was at that point I wish that
Mm.
John Davidson had still been there to offer one of his comments. Which and that's nothing against Jessie winning. It was wonderful that she won, but she again one of the things that was noticeable actually with the Brit Awards, everyone kept their speeches extremely short, not least because Olivia Dean
Well,
ran out of anything to say.
you know, Hamnet is a two-hander between Paul Mescal and
Mm,
Jesse Buckley, and
mm.
Paul's not winning anything. It's like
No,
it's
no, no.
completely ridiculous.
Who's William Shakespeare? Never.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What role did Paul play? Just a minor part.
So I did, Graham. I just briefly did watch two highlights. One of which was Rosalia's song "Bergain," I
Oh
think
yeah,
it's
yeah,
called.
yeah. With Bjork turning up, yeah.
With Bjork turning up and stealing the show as only Bjork can,
Mm, mm, mm.
with another
Yeah, Rosalia is
extraordinary
very,
costume.
very maximalist. You know, she throws everything at it with the kitchen sink.
She appeared to be wearing balloons.
Yeah, it's all very entertaining and uplifting, but I think it's a bit. I was a bit empty.
What, that song was a bit empty,
Yeah,
you
I
say?
just find it all like one dimensional. It's like it's spectacular
Mm-hmm.
and it's got oomph and it's got loads of things going on.
Yeah,
A bit like a big
like
Hollywood
Bohemian
movie.
Rhapsody, like Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah,
Lots
but
going on.
without the great songs beneath it, take away
Mm-hmm.
all the trappings and all the
Style
different
over
elements and the
substance.
styling. And I don't think
Mm-hmm.
the songs are as good as Bohemian Rhapsody.
No, absolutely not. Now, the other performance maybe to mention is Mark Ronson with his lovely tribute to Amy Winehouse. I thought that
Mm,
showed a lot of class, and it
yeah,
was
yeah.
lovely to see the band that she used to play with. And I thought that tribute to him, I thought that was really well done. I thought it was the highlight of what I saw.
Yeah, well, Mark Ronson, I liked it to make out his autobiography
Yes,
his life as a DJ. But what he did with Amy Winehouse was remarkable. She would
20 years
never
ago,
been the
Graham.
huge star she was without Mark Ronson.
20 years ago. Can you believe it?
Mm.
They met that day. She arrives, is expecting Mark Ronson to be a bloke with a beard, as she puts it, and 4 hours later they'd written Back to Black, and that's quite something.
Mm-mm. Amazing, amazing. Anyway, that's
So
enough Brit Awards.
that's Brit Awards. BAFTA Awards. I thought it was absolutely wonderful that the Hull actor Robert, whose surname I can't remember from I Swear, uh, won. When you looked at all the Hollywood stars that
Yeah.
were sitting there, that was a glorious moment. Leo's in the front row there, and you've got Ethan there. And it was a glorious moment for him. And I actually think that we should be doing more of this with the BAFTAs. When I think we do a
Yeah,
film like that
yeah.
that came from
Except I
nowhere.
just got a distinct feeling they were doing it because he was British.
Of course they were, Graham. And I don't
Yeah,
actually have a problem with that.
yeah. But poor old Leo Leonardo DiCaprio had come all the way across,
And
and he
I could
got
have got on. I could have got on a private jet. What's the big deal, Graham? He look.
yeah.
I'm
But
saying Robert
I
came
like
from
Leonardo
Hull.
DiCaprio.
Robert
He's a
came from
great
Hull. I mean,
Yeah, but he's a
that's
great
fine.
actor and he's not taken seriously. Leonardo, because he's a huge star, is never taken seriously as an actor, I don't think.
I mean, I could have absolutely understood him if he'd won the award. I think the BAFTAs can actually justify giving a British award amongst other things that
Hmm.
weren't given to the British films. I actually think that was because I still think that the Ballad of Ellis Island was unrepresented in the awards, which I think was
I also
wrong.
thought Sinners, the black
Overrated in the
vampire
awards.
movie,
Overrated in the
was
awards.
overlooked.
Oh, you think it was overlooked?
Well, yeah, it didn't get any of the big awards. It
It
got
did.
the
What,
on
the
the
actress?
fringes.
Actress?
Yeah,
Actress
yeah, that
award?
was the only good one. Yeah, that was the good one. Yeah.
I mean,
But anyway, the BAFTAs precede the Oscars and have a bit of influence on them, so it's a good hint as to what's coming up in the
well, I
Oscars.
swear that I know one result, Graham.
Mm.
Robert from Hull will not be winning Best Actor.
Definitely, yeah. Which means the real person that the film is based on, well, actually, he's not nominated, so therefore the real person won't be at the
No,
Academy Awards,
no,
which means there won't be the hoo-ha
no.
in Los Angeles that there was and at the BAFTAs.
It will be interesting to see if Jesse Buckley wins for Hamnet. I mean, even that's probably more questionable. Whether that was again a sort of home vote.
I think it's a very good performance, but I don't think it's an all-time classic performance. But since she's Irish British, I'll be quite happy if she wins.
Mm. Did anything surprise you in the BAFTA awards before we move on from BAFTAs, apart from obviously the editing skills not being quite good enough?
Not really. No, I did think that David Tennant is better than Alan Cummings at being a presenter of the BAFTAs, but that was about it.
Alan Cummings obviously just coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. In
Mm-mm.
fact, I mean, the fact that he wore a shower curtain at one point pretty well summed up his performance, it seemed to me. Absolute shower.
Yeah.
I mean, Alan, I know you know that you're actually trying to Could you stop being all about yourself and being actually about who the
Yeah,
performers who actually have done rather more than you turn up in four different costumes.
showbiz without ego isn't showbiz. But Alan does push the envelope.
Push the envelope.
You know that expression, whatever it
Anyway,
means.
Graham, I mean, we don't recognize egos. We're just too big egos, too big to notice anyone else's.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. If we were in the BAFTAs, we'd be just as bad.
Well, we would indeed. So thank you. That's our brief look back at the Brits and the BAFTAs, and enjoy. Actually, both I think were enjoyable in their own way. There's always faults with as I say, with the Brit Awards,
That's
failing
entertainment.
to recognise independent talent, but that was ever thus. But anyway, Graham. Talking of which, you went to see a new surreal psych pop band. They're called, and I hope you got this correct, Voka Gentle rather than Vodka Gentle, from London.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Voka Gentle. Yeah, they're
What
well, they're
persuaded you to
three.
go and see this band? What was the reason?
Mainly my great music friend James Littlewood of Charm
Oh,
Magazine and
man of
Charm Gigs
impeccable taste.
fame.
Yes.
Yeah, it was his idea. We went to a
Oh,
Porto,
okay.
very small but very nice venue in Leeds, and Voka Gentle, who are from London.
Mm.
On record, they're a three-piece, and live they've obviously got a drummer as well, and
Yeah.
it's two twin sisters, Ellie and Imogen Mason, and they share co-vocals with William Stokes, and they swap between guitars and analog synthesizers and recorded dialogue on a mobile phone in a sort of like lo-fi Talking Heads meets Yard Act
Mm.
meets surreal art band meets pop band all at the same time. In live, they're really, really interesting and entertaining. They're a really cute band, and they're constantly shape shifting, but always with a tune, always with melody. So
Ironically,
it's
Graham, you
it's
just did that with the
really
word
enjoyable.
shape shifting. You just turned
Yeah,
that
yeah,
word
yeah.
around.
So I really enjoyed them. But so I bought the album, their
Yeah.
proper debut album,
Mm.
on a reasonable label called Domestic Bliss, and it's a good album. But the great thing about them live is like it looks spontaneous, and they switch from like proper rock guitar to
Mm.
like all these synths and rhythms and a bit of sampling, and it all seems spontaneous and full of life. And then the record's just like it's almost too perfect, which happens quite a lot with bands when they're starting off, where
It does.
they can't get they can't get this sort of live thing going in the studio. But it's still a good album. And
I'm
Hamish
going to
Hawk,
throw
that
I'm
Hamish
going to
Hawk,
throw
the
an album
brilliant
at you, Graham.
Scottish. Yeah, hold on. Hamish Hawk, the brilliant Scottish singer-songwriter, he
Mm.
does co-vocals in the final track on
Oh,
Domestic
really?
Bliss by Voka Gentle. So they've got good taste, Voka Gentle. They like good things. So I really enjoyed it.
I mean, it is. I'm thinking of Rip, Rig, and Panic. I know that's a long time ago. Nina Cherry used to be the vocalist for them. They were a
Hmm.
band who you could not get it right on album. They had to be seen live. Sometimes
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the way. I think it's really. This sounds to me like a band that, limited on an album, so much more expressive live. Which actually, I still
yeah,
think adds the two things. That's what I would want. I mean, that's why we go to gigs because we're looking for something more than just representation on an album. We're looking to see how
yeah.
they take the
You're
songs
right.
further.
They just need to get a little bit of wildness and a bit of
Mm,
looseness and a bit more punch
mm.
in the studio. But I'm sure if they keep at it, they will do.
I mean, trapping a thing in a bottle is always difficult, isn't it? It just is.
Yeah, well, it's the old thing. Sometimes the bands that aren't that great live can do it really well in the studio and vice
Mm,
versa.
mm, absolutely.
But it's
But
Domestic Bliss is still a good album. I definitely recommend
yeah.
Vocal Gentle to anybody.
Well, we look forward to that. Graham, what was the venue that you saw them at? I missed that.
Well,
What was it?
Porto, been going for quite a
Yes.
long time at Porto,
Yes.
and I've seen a lot of bands there over the years, and it's a great
Mm,
little venue, a great bar.
excellent. Now, the one I'm really curious about, which we
Mm.
trailed last week, was Field Music doing the Doors, and they
Mm.
named themselves Fire Doors,
This is,
which is
yeah,
which I think is a great idea because, as you suggest, they did indeed light your fire, and that's exactly what they're doing to the Doors songs. I love the idea that fire doors. That's firing the Doors into action in a new way. You and I have seen Field Music, and you know the brothers well. And this is, I think, well, it sounds to me an intriguing project, not a conventional tribute act type performance, but actually an interesting act in their own right, taking on one of the all-time iconic bands.
Yeah, well, field music take their music seriously, but don't take themselves seriously. So hence
Yes.
the name Fire Doors, which is quite funny. It's
Yeah.
not designed to like get Doors fans to come through the door, so to speak.
It
But
prevents them. I mean, that's
but
what a fire door
but
does. It
what's
stops you going through.
so you've got like three of the field music guys, including the leaders David and Peter Brewis, the brothers,
Yeah.
and you got a drummer from the Future Heads. And on paper, this should not work because field music don't sound anything like the Doors.
No.
And on top of that, David Brewis, who's playing Jim Morrison, doesn't look like Jim Morrison, doesn't sound like Jim Morrison, hasn't
No.
got the right sort of voice to be
No.
Jim Morrison. It's a bit like if you'd heard that I was about to play Elvis Presley in a musical, you'd go, Graham, are you sure? It's a bit like that level. And the amazing thing is, they completely pull it off. They're so good at being the Doors because what they try to do is not impersonate the Doors as
Mm.
people, although David does is in character a bit as Jim Morrison.
Mm.
The rest of them don't try. What they try and do is they try to get inside the music and
Yes.
get the feel of every single note, every guitar lick, every drum beat, every bass line, every keyboard line. They get the feel of the Doors right the whole time, almost like field music as a band have been possessed by the ghost of the Doors. And David Brewis is particularly good at Jim Morrison. He never breaks character. He's completely intense. He doesn't at any point give the game away that he's actually not Jim Morrison, but he doesn't try and do all the over the top Jim Morrison moves that you get in Oliver Stone's movie. He
Yes.
concentrates on getting the sound and the feel right, and he's just brilliant at it.
So no chat between songs. I mean, that may seem a banal question, but I'm
Very
interested to
little
know.
because he
Very
doesn't
little.
want to break the spell and he
Exactly.
doesn't want to get into
Exactly.
like Jim Morrison caricature territory. What because they love the Doors. This isn't a joke to them. They love the Doors music, and as they should, because the Doors probably the most underrated band of the 1960s and
Mm.
early 70s. And they love the music. And what they do is they get the spirit of the music totally spot on. It's really exciting to hear all these great songs played live. It's like you're actually back there in 1967 or 1970. It's really good.
So this isn't like Rick Astley and where you can remember remind me which band teaming up together to
Smiths,
do the Smiths. Who was it?
yeah.
Who was the band
The
that did it?
Blossoms, the
Blossoms.
Blossoms,
So
yeah.
I mean, I'm interested just to make a brief comparison there. Obviously, Rick Astley, fantastic vocalist, taking on those songs. Um, I hadn't seen that show, but it's interesting. I think when a band like Blossoms again does a project like that, would you expect this to sort of literally catch fire? To sorry, I don't mean the word literally, but you could you see other bands doing projects like this?
I think bands that need the money, yes, because David and Peter Bruce have been right up front about the fact the reason they're doing this mainly the money because
Mm,
they're a great art rock band, which was nominated for Mercury Prize back in 2010,
mm,
2011.
mm,
They just don't make any money out of it
no,
because
no.
in the modern world, doing the sort of music they do, which is brilliant, they don't
Mm,
you don't build up a huge fan base doing that sort of thing,
no.
especially when they don't do any of the stuff you're supposed to do to make yourself huge on streaming. And they never bring in anybody as a guest act on their songs to make them
Yeah, they don't
somehow
do the
more appealing to the
featuring.
mass audience. They concentrate on being good and being great, and that's it. So I think other acts that are similarly looking for funds, if they pick the right act to cover,
Mm.
they may actually, pull it off and keep on
Any
doing it. And
suggestions then, Graham?
what other bands that could do it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd quite like to see English teacher do Genesis.
Well, that seems quite extreme, but why not?
Mm.
I mean,
But film music was so good. They were so good as the Doors that I wish they would actually tour it a lot. I'm not convinced they will because they're obviously committed to film music. And my great friend Ken talked to them afterwards when we're having a chat with the band,
mm,
and they are working on a new album for field music. So I can't see how their lives will allow them to be the Doors
except that,
that
Graham,
often.
you've said that the key thing here is it can make money for them, and it is really
Mm.
difficult. Art rock bands generalization massively, but they tend not to make money. They tend not to get to that level. I mean, okay, you could say someone like Talking Heads obviously did, but essentially, art rock bands do not tend to play arenas.
Yeah, they can't build an audience now because they never get on TV.
No,
They
absolutely.
never approach the mainstream.
No.
I mean, Peter Gabriel 3, which came out in 1980,
Mm.
I played it all day because I'm talking about him at the Vinyl
Oh,
Sessions
yes, you
event in
are. Yes.
Harrogate this week.
Mm.
And that was number one in Britain. And that's because in those days, the mainstream shows, in radio shows and TV shows and newspapers, would feature the best and most interesting artier end of the music scene. So
Mm.
Peter Gabriel could be arty and a bit weird and still be number one. Well, that doesn't happen anymore.
No. When was the last Artie number one?
Well, Mogwai managed to pull it off during COVID when all their fans, including
Oh,
me, bought
yes.
one of their albums to make sure it got to number one. But
Yes.
that was like an act of will for a week. It wasn't a genuine crossover success. It wasn't a mainstream hit, even though it got to number one. So yeah, we're in changed times. So yeah, sadly, field music it's impossible these days for them to become a big band.
Mm. Absolutely. So, Graham, just a bit of housekeeping here. Big gig announcement of the week was that Elvis Costello will bring the Radio Soul show to the York Barbican on June the 17th, I think is the date. This show is the show that takes in from 1977 to 1986. So
Yeah.
it takes in as far as King of
Well,
America
that's
and
his
Blood and
golden era.
Chocolate.
He did about 10 great albums in that period.
So it's the golden era, and he's playing still with Steve Naive, still with Pete Thomas,
Mm.
Dave Farraher, who's been with them for a long time. Charlie Sexton, the American guitarist, is playing with them as well. And it's a tour that was already, I think it's already played America this tour. I think it did it in the autumn, and he'd already announced several
Mm.
dates. Now he's adding more, but it's actually really exciting from the point of view of York to have Elvis come back here for the first time since I think 12 years ago when he did the singing spinning wheel show at the Barbican. And
I remember that.
so I've been looking forward to reviewing that, and I'll obviously bring it up
Mm.
on the podcast. But just to highlight, the tickets have gone on sale for that, have they gone on sale? Yes, I think they possibly have. If they haven't, it's going on sale this Friday. But anyway, it's an exciting opportunity, and it's his golden era.
Oh my God, so many great songs. He must have written about 80 great songs in that
Yeah,
period,
yeah.
if not 100.
I mean, well, exactly. It was great album after great album for
Mm.
that
Mm.
stretch. It was
And he
remarkable.
kept on changing style as well. So it
Yeah,
wasn't like he was doing the
of
same
course.
thing.
No,
He kept on developing. So
he'd suddenly write a song like
that,
"Every Day I Write the Book" with
mm.
classic soul in that way. No, and the variety, the country album, of course, he included there the cover versions album that he did within that time as well. No, so
Exactly.
it should be really promising. Now, Graham, you
Another
have got
another new gig in Yorkshire another new gig in Yorkshire in the summer.
yeah,
I mean, in terms of Leeds and York outdoor gigs this summer, it's
yeah,
just an immense list of things coming up. But there's a new one in Leeds as well. On Saturday, July the 4th,
oh
is the
yes.
Roundhay Festival, headlined by Lewis Capaldi,
So who's
a
put this
fellow
together?
Scotsman whose big emotional ballads I don't
Yeah,
particularly like that much, supported by another Scotsman, Jacob Alone,
yeah.
who is a bit like a Scottish the one who did Carrie Lowell, Sufjan Stevens. He's sort of like that, and he is quite good. And then some American bloke who's a big pop star in
Mm,
America who, again, is similarly quite sensitive and good looking and
mhm.
likes to not wear a shirt in his videos. So he's bare chested all the time, called Conan Gray. I'd never really heard of till I saw a lineup
No.
for Roundhay Festival. So if you like men wearing their hearts on their sleeves and being a bit weepy and sensitive, the Roundhay Festival is going to be the gig for you.
It's like you and me every Sunday, Graham, doing our podcast.
I don't think so.
So I take it that Roundhay Festival, the clue is in the title that it will be in Roundhay Park.
In Leeds, yes, indeed.
This is an outdoor festival again. So Manchester, take this message. Leeds is fighting back, not having it all your own way.
Yeah, but Manchester's great publicized. We've said this a million times.
I know.
Manchester sells
I
itself
know.
big. Leeds underplays its own strengths, and that's part of the reason we're in this situation.
Absolutely, Graham. But remember, if you can be a plasterer and a plumber from Manchester, you can be successful. So remember that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's an exciting festival that's coming up, Graham. And maybe will you be heading that way? See your fellow Scotsman?
I will not. I'm not saying there aren't any good tunes amongst those guys. There are,
Mm.
but overly sensitive men showing their emotions in a one-dimensional fashion
Hmm.
isn't really my thing.
No, I can understand that. Why not, though, Graham? Interestingly,
If they're a
psychology.
bit
If
too,
I can just put you on the psychiatrist
yeah.
chair, what's the problem?
Well, they boil all life's dilemmas down to one feeling. Well, in my experience, most dilemmas in life as a human being are multifaceted, which makes them so tricky. If everything was just one thing, you could handle it. It's like everything's a bit complicated.
Well,
And
the irony for Lewis Capaldi, of course, is that he's a lot more complicated than his songs.
yeah, yeah, one thing's
He's
for
had his
sure,
troubles. He's had
he
his
is
troubles,
being
poor
genuine.
man.
He's not a faker. Like Lewis
No,
is
God,
not
oh no,
putting it on. This is the
he
real
has
Lewis.
had genuine
Yeah,
struggles.
exactly. Yeah.
Mm,
So I admire him for that.
good. Well, I'm glad to see you've given him a little bit of slack there, Graham. I thought you were being tad harsh on him. There is a
Yeah.
whole heap of these ones who I've got no time for, but actually, I think Lewis Capaldi every so often sings a damn good song. So I'm not going to be quite
Mm,
like you are
mm,
about him. Not that
mm.
I would remotely want to go to the concert. I agree with you, Graham. No,
Well, obviously, yeah. I mean, yeah, unless you brought lots of
I would
hankies.
prefer to go and see the great soul singers of the past being emotional. I get a lot
That's a
more of a
bit
kick
tricky.
out of
That
seeing,
they're all dead.
seeing
That's the
they
bad
are all
news.
dead. But if I could have a gig from the stars with
Mm.
Marvin Gaye, with Otis Redding, with Wilson Pickett, with Jimi Hendrix, I would be there.
Well, that means you need a time machine. Just go back to the 60s. It was all
Thanks
there.
very
It
much,
was
Graham.
all there.
Graham, I'm very happy to go on that time machine. I feel I was denied the right to go and see any of these artists, and it's a great regret. Anyway, Graham, you are in receipt.
Another thing that's come up.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
go on.
Grant
Is this
McPhee.
an interruption? Possibly.
It's an interruption. It's an
Excellent.
interruption. Grant
Good.
McPhee, the great Scottish writer and filmmaker, usually books and films about Scottish in the history. And he's been on the show. And he's a
Yes.
really
Yes.
nice chap.
Mm.
Well, he's got a new book coming out, and I think it's called Postcard Volume 2, Scene Within a Scene. And it's an oral history again, because he specializes in oral histories about Scottish indie music history. But this
Yeah.
time it brings it more forward towards the present day. So you get to hear the origins of Franz Ferdinand and Belle and Sebastian. And amazingly, he's kindly sent me an advance copy, and
Mm.
it's nowhere near being published, just for my own pleasure. And it looks like a great book.
Because postcard one, of course, would be Orange Juice,
Orange
Joseph
Juice,
K.
Aztec Camera.
Aztec
You
Camera.
have Fire Engines, Joseph K,
Shop
and he brings it
Assistants,
all
were Shop
forward.
Assistants a postcard band? I don't know if they were, I can't remember.
No, they
Possibly.
weren't, but they're all linked. The thing about a scene is that the scene in a scene, not everybody has to belong to the same record label or be in the same venue the whole time. There's a scene develops,
Mm.
and what he's good at is he tells the human stories in a truthful, honest manner about how these scenes developed. He doesn't have to gild the lily or come up with rock and roll legends and rock and roll
No.
myths. He shows that it's how real people behave, how the people who create this great music that has a big impact, how normal they are, but also how action-packed their lives were, even while they were being normal. It's a really rounded portrait you get of an era when you read Grant McPhee books.
Do you think this genre, Scottish music, Graham, and I'm not including Lewis Capaldi here, but is it somewhat underappreciated overall? I mean, if you look at the remarkable range of bands, I'm not looking at the level of Simple Minds having hits or whatever, but if you're looking, well, particularly at the postcard acts, are they not as appreciated as they should be? And therefore, actually, is the role of a book by Grant McPhee important, and in some ways, setting the record straight?
That's an interesting point, well expressed, but I have to say, I think that Scottish indie music over the years has been well recognized by the rest of the world, and particularly in England. But Grant's
No,
books
Graham, it
do
didn't sell. It
bring
didn't sell in big numbers. You can't. I mean, it just didn't.
the media does. The media covers Scottish music pretty well, I think.
Yeah,
The
but
British media has
the
always
big
been
hits,
quite
Simple
generous.
Minds, Delamitri,
Mm.
their
Yeah, I
success. But
think,
I'm just
yeah,
suggesting that even Ben and Sebastian have not really sold as well as I think their music would have warranted. Orange Juice should have been a bigger band than they were.
Yeah, but the part of the thing about Scottish acts, especially indie acts, is that most Scottish indie music acts, no matter how good they are musically, do not sell themselves in a rock and roll
They're
fashion
even worse
to
than
the
Leeds
mass
at selling
market.
themselves. Yeah,
Well, they are, but Bell and Sebastian, my God, you don't get more underplayed in terms of
exactly.
like rock and roll publicity than
Yeah,
Bell and Sebastian.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's Scotland's own fault.
I mean, artistically, they are clearly appreciated by the cognoscenti and by
Mm,
the
mm.
and by the literati. Sorry to be pretentious, but they do appreciate these bands. My record collection, is bowing under the weight of albums by these acts.
Mm.
But
That's good.
you and I are probably not typical in that being the case.
That's true, but I don't feel like I generally don't think Scotland's been underrepresented or underappreciated or anything. I really think we've had a pretty fair crack of the whip. I really do.
Okay, I withdraw my suggestion, and
Mm.
but I still think there are various bands who I think commercially have deserved to be rather bigger than they have been.
It's like I love Jesus Mary Chain
Mm,
until their final years in
yeah.
the 1970s before they split up. And you may saw Jesus Mary Chain very early on and saw some great performances from them in the 1980s, early 90s.
Mm,
But and they'd stand there in their, black leather jackets and jeans or black trousers with a Kenneth Anger videos of motorbike
yeah.
riders and
Yeah.
devil worship behind them,
Mm,
looking super cool. And they wouldn't talk to the audience and they're a
no.
bit sullen.
Yeah.
And I said to you one time, they're not doing this because they're actually cool guys. They're doing this because they're from East Kilbride. They're actually shy. They're not actually made to be on the stage.
No. Did you see, Graham, that they're going to be supporting the Johnny Depp and Alice Cooper's band, Hollywood Vampires?
That's hilarious.
Uh,
I mean,
uh,
Hollywood vampires are hilarious, but to have Jason Mewshane support them is even more hilarious. You couldn't have made it up. If you'd said to Jim and William Reed in 1984, 85 when they're
I'm
starting off,
thinking exactly that.
in 35 years' time, whatever, you're going to be like supporting Hollywood vampires with
Mm,
Johnny Depp,
mm.
etc. They would have gone, no way,
No way, but
no
they are.
way.
But they're not doing. It's not every date on the tour.
Mm.
The one at Scarborough is not with Jesus and Mary Chain, but they're playing about half the shows. I mean, what does that say about
I
them
would have
that they're
come.
doing that? Why would they do this? Why?
Well, because it's rock and roll legends. They're playing with Johnny Depp's a legend. The rest of the band's full of legends. They're rock fans. I mean, the thing about all these
Mm,
bands, if you talk to any rock musician, famous or not, they like a wider range of rock bands than you'd imagine. You'd think
yeah.
that metal bands would only like metal music in their spare time. Well, they
Mm,
don't. You'd think that, pop acts would only like pop music in the spare time, but they don't. People in general who are in music have a quite wide frame of reference and
yeah.
love
Yeah.
of music that's much broader than you imagine. So I'm sure that the guys in Hollywood Vampires, even though legends, probably like quite a lot of Jesus Mary Chain songs.
Well, one has to assume that that's where the
Mm.
invitation has come from. You know, at their peak, he could not imagine Jesus and Mary Chain doing this.
No, he,
No,
he definitely could not.
no,
Especially when Bobby Gillespie was on snare drum and they only played about
exactly,
7 songs per gig.
exactly. So, Graham, interruption time if you wish. If there's anything you can think of.
Well, I saw Tony Moore, ex Iron Maiden and Cutting Crew at Fraser Theatre in Nesborough near Harrogate
So, what
last
sort of
night.
show did he do?
It's a one-man show. He plays
Hmm.
all instruments, and it's a multimedia audio show where he talks you through his life in a personal fashion, but quite revealing, emotive, and honest,
Hmm.
including his love of his dear mum, who's got dementia,
Yeah.
combined with an analysis of where the world's currently going wrong. And it's completely over the top. The visuals are
Blimey.
striking and entertaining the whole time. The songs, it's like a musical, really. The songs are all powerful. They're
Yeah.
not all hit songs, but they're
No.
all decent songs. And Tony Moore is an absolute trooper. I said to him after the show,
Hmm.
if I was facing a firing squad with you and the man with the gun leading the firing squad said to us, if you can entertain us right now, we won't
Hmm.
shoot you. I know we'd survive because you would entertain them on the spot. You'd
I mean,
definitely do it.
that is a heck of a show. I really like these things where artists. I'm not saying reinvent. That's not the word I'm looking for, but they find a way to reflect in both in song and in conversation. and Baz Warne from the Stranglers, who took over as the lead vocalist from Hugh Cornwell, who of course was one of our guests on Two Big Egos. Baz, again, he's doing a tour where he'll play the songs, but he'll talk as well about his career in music. I think there's a lot of merit in this. I mean, John Bramwell, I Am Clutie, does a lot of talking within his shows. And it's an evening that combines the two. Billy Bragg effectively has done this for years with his shows, where the conversation is as important as the songs. But it sounds with Tony or Toby, which is his name?
Tony Moore.
I mean, it sounds like he's kind of taken this further in creating
it's a very
kind of
personal
show.
Project. It's a very personal project, but if he was a more famous character, I think it'd be a hit show. And if he was young, 22-year-old and good looking, I think kids would think he was brilliant. But because he's Tony Moore, he's not that famous, although within the business he's highly respected. And because he's in his 70s or whatever, it's not going to be a hit show probably. But it's a great show and it's well worth seeing. It's called Awake. And this is a man who's waging war on intolerance with his guitar and his songs. It's quite a sort of like opposite show. It's quite contemporary.
Yeah. Did you run a review of it in the Advertiser, Graham?
No, I interviewed him for the Harrogate Advertiser and did a story in advance and plugged it a bit online.
Excellent. Good. Well, I think we're probably coming to our last minute.
Really? How's this happened?
I don't know. It's the time is 9. Was it 7:38? Must be almost time to go.
7:38.
So, Graham, what are you doing this week? What's the highlights?
I'm talking about Peter Gabriel at Vinyl Sessions in Harrogate.
Yes.
To raise more money for Harrogate Hospital charity. And I think I'm going to the Quarry Chamber Orchestra's Leeds debut at Howard Assembly Rooms in Leeds on Friday night.
Howard Assembly Rooms, singular.
Yeah, you're right. Correct me there.
They've just had Ron Sexsmith playing there, incidentally, Graham, which I missed.
You've been listening to the podcast Two Big Egos in a Small Car. Your hosts were Graham Chalmers and Charles Hutchinson. This was a Baltic sub-production.